Hey Bookaholics, so welcome back to another reading vlog. We're in a slightly different angle to my usual angles because we are going to start a spinner wheel vlog. It's been a hot minute since I did a spinner wheel vlog. I didn't do them throughout the summer. It's too hot, I don't function. But we are going to be getting into it today. I am so excited for this wheel because it is, of course, the fall one. It is the Halloween one, the Samhain one, and I am here for it. So the wheel is back in its original state. I have no stickers on it because the original wheel was literally a Halloween prop, and we're going to get into talking about it a little bit. So come a little closer. So the wheel is, as I said, back in its original state. So we have our 3 tubs as always. The first one this time around is going to be, of course, witchy books. Now this is not witchy romance because I do have a romance vlog coming up. I think there is one in here that is a bit romance adjacent, but I am unsure. But we have 5 possible witchy books in here that I'm very excited to get to. This one here is going to be scary books. That just basically means anything that has like an element of horror to it or a thrillery element to it. This one's a little bit more miscellaneous. It's just anything else that fits Halloween vibes. And then the last one that we have in this pumpkin here is going to be vibes. It's atmospheric. It's the ones that have a bit of paranormal in them, the ones that have just an autumnal feel to them. Not necessarily in a cutesy autumn way, because again, I do have a romance vlog coming, so I don't want to burn myself out on those, but just ones that have an atmospheric vibe to them that I think would suit the season. So what we're going to do is we're going to spin, and then wherever Back's tail, my little ghosty called Back, wherever his tail ends up is the pot we pull from, and we are going to read that book. So without further ado, because I'm very excited to see what I end up with, let's get rolling. That lands exactly in the middle. Let's try again. Scary. All right, what have we got in here? I've got some physical, some digital. Is that upside down? I feel like that's upside down. Satan Hides the Hook by Lumen Reese. All right, let's go talk about this. I very recently read There's Something Wrong in Hugo Creek by Lumen Reese and absolutely loved it. So I am excited to continue. Satan Hides the Hook is actually the sequel to All Flesh You Shall Come, or whatever it's called. It's a Bible verse. It's the second book in the Honorary Slime series. This is a vampire series. It's very cool. It's a very unique take on vampires. I'm very excited to read the sequel. Lumen Reese writes in first person present. So I know that some people find that not ideal. I think that she does a fantastic job with it. Yes, it has like the run-on sentences sometimes, but it really does add flow to it in a way that I really appreciate. So I'm very excited to give this one a go. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be starting Satan Hides the Hook. Vlog. I am here to check in because I have actually finished Satan Hides the Hook. I was going to update you yesterday and then I just kind of forgot and I ended up reading the whole thing. So it's now actually Friday. So I figured that it was about time that I check in and do some kind of update and let you know my thoughts on Satan Hides the Hook. I really enjoyed this one. I think for me, I really appreciate Lumen Reese's way she tells stories. The things that she conjures up. They work for me as well because they're horror, but they have the horror element that is obviously like horrifying. I'm doing a really good job of this. But they also have a thematically rich approach to them. But then on top of that, there's also a layer of levity. There's also a sense of that there's this humorous layer in this series in particular that I just think works really well. There's a level of bizarreness as well. So just so many things that end up working quite well within here. So I think that I really like how innovative she is in bringing together all of those elements really well. Obviously, I can't talk about this one that much because it's a sequel. Not in a way that it's like a direct sequel. This one isn't following vampires, for example. This one is more focused on aliens. But obviously where the characters are and who they are a little bit in this one is completely contingent on the first book. But yeah, I would recommend this series. If you want some horror that is horror, and is unsettling, but also quite entertaining, then I would highly recommend you check this one out. It's, as I said, in a first-person present, which I know some people don't like. I think that Lumen Reese does a really good job of first-person present, but I can understand that obviously if that's not your preference, then this is maybe not going to be your thing. But if you're not sure if you like first-person present or not, this is actually a really good example of it if you're wanting to give it a go. So yeah, would recommend, had a good time. Difficult to talk about, hence why I didn't really bother forcing myself too much to check in yesterday. So now we need to see what we're doing for the weekend. Now for the weekend, I have 2 audiobook options in the spinner wheel. Now, if those don't come up, then I'm going to need to pick an audiobook that isn't in the spinner wheel so that I've got something to listen to, because tomorrow I'm going to be cleaning, so I'm going to need to spend multiple hours cleaning. And I figured then audiobook seems like the most sensible approach to that. So that means that then I'm going to go do the spinner wheel, and if it's a physical read or an ebook read, then I will go pick up an audiobook as well. So let's go see what I end up falling on as to whether or not we continue with an ebook and me choosing a random audiobook, or if I get lucky and get one of the few audiobooks that are in there. All right, let's see what the wheel decrees for me. All right, that's orange. That is atmospheric. And we have The Burnings by Naomi Kelsey. This one's historical. So it is in fact a witchy one. It's historical witchy though. This one could have gone in either of the pots. It could have gone in the pumpkin or in the cat, but I decided to put it in the pumpkin back when I made the list a month or so ago, because I had so many to go in the cat one. Like I haven't even got all my witch ones in there. I've got 5. So I figured it was fine for it to go in the pumpkin one because it's historical fiction. So I don't know how much the actual like witchiness comes in versus like people being condemned as witches and not being witches. I don't know yet. But it says, nothing scares men like witchcraft. 1589, Scottish housemaid Gellis and Danish courtier Margarita lead opposite lives, but they both know one thing. When a man cries witch, no woman is safe. Yet when the marriage of King James VI and Princess Anna of Denmark brings Gellis and Margarita together, everything they supposed about good, evil, men and women is cast in a strange and brilliant new light. For the first time in history, could black magic, or rumours of it, be a very real tool for women's political gain. As the North Berwick witch trials whip Scotland and her king into a frenzy of paranoia, the clock is ticking. Can Margarita and Gellis keep each other safe? And once the burnings are over, in whose hands will power truly lie? Inspired by an incredible true story that set 16th century Scotland and Denmark alight, The Burnings is 2023's most bewitching debut novel by a multi-award winning new star of historical fiction. Alright, so it's listed as historical fiction, not fantasy. So I feel like I've put it in the right spot, but we'll see how that fares once I've actually read it. But I'm very excited for this one, but that does mean that I am going to need an audiobook. So I'm going to be the bestest of friends, and I'm going to start Where the Dark Stands Still by A.B. Poranek. This one is recommended by my friend Mare, who has recently read it and loved it and has told me that I need to read it. So that's what I'm doing. This one is a swooping gothic fairy tale, apparently, and the synopsis of this one says, raised in a small village near the Spirit Wood, Liska Radost knows that magic is monstrous and its practitioners monstrous monsters. After Liska unleashes her iron powers with devastating consequences, she is caught by the demon warden of the wood, the Leshy, who offers her a bargain: 1 year of servitude in exchange for a wish. Whisked away to his crumbling manor, Liska makes an unsettling discovery. She is not the first person to strike this bargain, and if she wants to survive the year and return home, she must unravel her host's spool of secrets and face the ghosts of his past. Those who enter the wood do not always return. Again, I had a really good time with listening to The River Has Roots in September, so I figured that the fairy tale vibe ones work quite well for me on audio. So I bought the audiobook and we're going to listen to that while I'm cleaning tomorrow. So I'll hopefully start The Burnings today, and then I will be reading that over the weekend. This is probably going to be like a substantially slower vlog than you usually get from me. I might not even need to update every day because I am doing my sci-fi book club vlog in the background of this as well, so I have technically now got 3 books on the go. So we'll see how much or how little I need to update you, because there makes no sense in me updating you if I've read like 40 pages. So we'll see, but I'm very excited to get to both of these. One because Mare is screaming about it, and the other because it is historical fiction and witches. You can't really go wrong there. Hey vlog, I'm here to update you because I have in fact started a couple of things, so I figured I'd check in. I have started The Burnings by Naomi Kelsey, and I am really interested in this because at the moment it's reading, I mean, it's a historical fiction. It's just got witchiness to it. And a lot of the witchy historical fictions, they still feel the tone that they're told in is still very much witchy. You know what I mean? Like there's that specific undertone that you get with witchy books, that specific stylistic choice that happens with a lot of witchy books that I was expecting this to have. But it's reading like straight up historical fiction at the minute, which is interesting. It starts out in the 1570s, I think 1578 in Denmark, because we are eventually going to be following Anne of Denmark, following her marriage to the British king. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the actual historical events unfold throughout this story by contrast to the witchy ones. Now, the only Philippa Gregory book that I have genuinely thoroughly enjoyed was the Duchetto of Luxembourg one, Lady of the Rivers. And again, that one also has a witchy vibe to it. So it turns out I like my historical fiction to read like historical fiction, even if they have a witchy component, which is interesting. Or I just really like witchy books because a load of my faves are witchy books. Who knows? I'm having a good time with that. I haven't got very far, so I don't have a huge amount of thoughts, but I have started it. So we'll see how I progress. I'll probably update you when I've got something to say. I can't imagine that it's just going to be like, I need to update every day. We'll see. As for the other thing that I started my audiobook. I did start Where the Dark Stands Still. What's it called? Is that what it's called? Oh God, this one. I'm listening to the audiobook for it and I'm really loving it. I'm fairly certain that the audiobook narrator is also part Polish because her pronunciation of like the Polish sounding words is fabulous. It's based on Slavic folklore, but the vibe it's giving me is very much Polish folklore, and I'm having such a good time. We've got several of the typical Slavic folkloric demon-like beings, that their own version of the fair folk in there. I'm really loving that. I'm loving the historical context with it being, you know, if you are a witch, you're going to get condemned, but that not everyone wants to condemn her. You have a religious figure, you have this priest who is friends with her mother, who clearly wants to save her. It's just that the way that they go about saving her is very much, we need to diminish who you are. I don't know if this is going to have a romantic component, but if it is, I'm here for it. Not gonna lie, that might just be the fact that clearly my hormones are at a point where I am desperate for romances, and I'm reading a historical fictions like with The Burnings, which I don't think it might have romance in it, but most marriages in that time period when we're following aristocracy are political alliances, so I don't know how much romance we're going to get in that one, but we may well get a romance in my audiobook at least. So yeah, I've been cleaning today. I went and cleaned the other house. So I was listening to, I think, an hour and a bit of the audio, because like there were bits intermittently that I couldn't listen to the audiobook for whatever reason. But I got like a good hour and a bit, maybe even 2 hours in on the audio, which is fantastic. So yeah, again, really loving where it's going so far. I'm really glad that Mare made me read this, because I definitely wasn't going to, because it is listed as YA, and I really don't read much YA anymore. But Mare said I would like it, and she was 100% right, because my girl never lets me down. I'm really glad that I'm doing this via audio, because it's got that fairy tale vibe. It turns out I really like the folkloric ones via audio, so that's what I've done, and I am very glad of it. So yeah, that's where I'm at so far. I've got other stuff that I'm reading in the background. Well, I've got one other thing that I'm reading in the background at the moment, but for the most part, my primary focus is the burnings, and then just whenever the need for an audiobook arises, I will listen to Where the Ducks Stand Still. Alright, hey vlog. I'm here to say that I have finished The Burnings by Naomi Kelsey, and this is a book that I have really mixed feelings on, and this is something that I see coming up a lot when I read historical fiction lately. This book is really well written. I will give it that. It's really well written. And if this book were entirely fiction, I would really enjoy it. My problem is this book is based on real people from history. Both of our protagonists are real people, one of whom was eventually burned as a witch. Now, in real life, the one that was burnt as a witch, Gaelis Duncan, was a tenant to one of the lords in the local area, and she was basically a scapegoat. She was taken and tortured until she confessed. And in real life, she was basically taken because she was good with healing. She was better a midwife and a better healer than a lot of the doctors around, which men didn't like. But she was eventually accused of trying to plot treason against the king, including making it difficult for his wife, Anne of Denmark, to come to England, and also plotting with the Earl of Bothwell against the king. In a lot of historical fiction, they will sometimes, with witchy books, do a what if they were witches, they still weren't doing anything wrong. And I'm okay with that. I am okay if you present women who were burned as witches as though they were really witches, where it's like, yeah, and even if they were, they've not done anything wrong. That I am fine with. The problem is that this book did have it where Gaelis and Agnes Sampson, who is another person who also died in those trials, were conspiring with the Earl of Bothwell. It's not presented as quite so black and white, but taking the names of people who are generally now considered to be innocent people who were burned at the stake by a paranoid king, taking their story, their innocence, and what was done to them, and pitching it as though it were real. Even if the book isn't trying to condemn them, they are plotting, well, they are working with the Earl of Bothwell, who did, on multiple occasions, plot against the king. Now, I'm not saying that you deserve to die if you plot against a king. I'm no monarchist, but it's very different to have been someone who was, willingly or not, involved in a plot against a king versus someone who was plucked from obscurity as a scapegoat to confess names so that they could bring them down. So I have a problem with that representation. Like I said, even if it was that she's a witch, and it was just to prove that even if she was a witch, that her treatment was ridiculous, was disgusting, that would have been fine. But there is a difference once you start bringing in political implications. That's where my problems lie. Another problem that I have is that we have a scene of needless, and especially needlessly graphic, sexual violence. Now, I am not saying that you can't depict sexual violence, especially when you aren't talking about men's power over women. That scene, given that then afterwards we are followed by a huge slew of torture that we are shown that are accurate, the torture is accurate, the timelines are a bit off, but the torture is accurate. To have also thrown sexual assault in there for good measure, it felt like it was being a little bit gratuitous for my personal liking. I'm not saying it didn't or couldn't have happened, so it's not like it's historically inaccurate. It just made me uncomfortable because it was just to make someone who we already loathe seem more loathsome, which wasn't necessary. But it was well written, and if you don't care about historical accuracy, if the things I'm saying don't bother you, if you are not fussed about whether or not the memories of deceased people are respected in a way that is indicative of the level of innocence they are presumed to have, then it's a well-written book. It's a good book. I just wish that the characters were fictional. I wish they weren't real people, especially once we start implicating Bothwell. Like, not only the treatment of Gaelis Duncan, but also Agnes Sampson in this book were not great. For people that we know so little about, aside from the horrific way in which they died, I was not comfortable with that representation in this book. That's my personal take. I appreciate it's not going to be for everyone, but it didn't work for me, and I've given it 2 stars. The 2 stars are because the story and the writing are great. I can't give it more than that because it's made me very uncomfortable. I did want to finish out the book to be sure that my thoughts held up throughout the whole book. I didn't want people coming in later to be like, well, if you read the ending, but I'm unchanged. I'm unmoved. I don't know. But that's a me thing. Anyway, I have now here the spinner wheel so we can do another spin. So I can read something that maybe will make me feel less whatever it is I'm feeling right now. So let's give it a spin. Eyeball. It's our second eyeball. What do we got? Ooh, is that the right way up? That looks like that's the right way up. That is The Forest of Hands and Teeth by Carrie Ryan. All right, I'm going to go get that. So The Forest of Hands and Teeth is actually YA, and I don't really read a huge amount of YA anymore. So this is basically like a try out, see if I vibe with it. If not, it gets unhauled. This is one that I picked up from the charity shop. We'll see how I fare. It's also zombie, which I don't think I knew when I picked this up. So whether or not I actually end up reading much of this or whether it's a DNF, I don't know. This I put in there to kind of like actually give it a go, so then it gives me the push to either read it and enjoy it or unhaul it. So the synopsis for this one goes: in Mary's world there are simple truths. The sisterhood always knows best. The guardians will protect and serve. The unconsecrated will never relent. And you must always mind the fence that surrounds the village, the fence that protects the village from the forest of hands and teeth. But slowly, Mary's truths are failing her. She's learning things she never wanted to know about the sisterhood and its secrets, and the guardians and their power, and about the unconsecrated and their relentlessness. When the fence is breached and her world is thrown into chaos, she must choose between her village and her future, between the one she loves and the one who loves her, and she must face the truth about the forest of hands and teeth. Could there be life outside the world surrounded by so much death? I don't know how I'm going to feel about this. Again, I picked it up at a charity shop before I had data on my phone. It took me way longer than it should have to get data on my phone because I didn't really use my phone very much. I didn't know anything about it when I picked it up. It just sounded good from that synopsis, but now I found out that it's YA and zombie. So whether or not I will enjoy this is yet to be seen. But this is my next read. At least it's physical as well, because I don't actually have a physical read on the go at the minute. So I've got a physical read, got an audio book. Let's go. Hey vlog. So I'm here again. It's literally been like a couple of hours, but I am very annoyed because if I had read this when this came out, I would have loved this. I'm fairly certain, even with the zombie thing, the way that we've got like this cult-like vibe and the way that we've got the mysteries around this kind of society, even the love triangle that we seem to be setting up for doesn't bother me too much. I can't actually remember what page I got to now. That doesn't really matter, but I am DNFing. I would have loved this as a teen. I do not love it now, which is a shame. So we're gonna go spin again and we'll see what else we get instead. This one's getting unhauled. It is a shame. I do wish that I had loved it, but I didn't. And that's not the book's fault. Again, I would have loved this if I'd read this at the right time. We have a wheel. Let's go. Let's see what we get. I have no idea what that's on. Let's spin again. Cat. All right, what we got in the cat? Are you the right way up? Oh my god, it is the right way up. Oh, The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. I like that one. Well, like, I haven't read it yet, but I like the idea of this one because this one is by an author that I've read from before. I've got the Queens of Frenthia on the shelves here somewhere. I am looking forward to this one because it will be the first thing I've read since the Queens of Frenthia, which I really enjoyed. So hopefully I would like this. Let's go read the synopsis. So it is listed as romantasy and also cottagecore, two things that I do like. We have a lush cottagecore tale full of stolen spell books, unexpected friendships, sweet jams, and even sweeter love. Kiela has always had trouble dealing with people. Thankfully, as a librarian in the Great Library of Elysium, she and her assistant Kaz, a magically sentient spider plant, have spent the last decade sequestered among the Empire's most precious spellbooks, preserving their magic for the city's elite. When a revolution begins and the library goes up in flames, she and Kaz flee with all of the spellbooks that they can carry and head to a remote island Kiela never thought she'd see again, her childhood home. Taking refuge there, Kiela discovers, much to her dismay, a nosy and very handsome neighbour who can't take a hint, keeps showing up every day to make sure she's fed and to help fix up her new home. In need of income, Kiela identifies something that even the bakery in town doesn't have: jam. With the help of an old recipe book her parents left her and a bit of illegal magic, her cottage garden is soon covered in ripe berries. But magic can do more than make life a little sweeter, so Kiela risks the consequences of using unsanctioned spells and opens the island's first ever and much needed secret spell shop. Like a Hallmark rom-com full of mythical creatures and fueled by cinnamon rolls and magic, the spell shop will heal your heart and feed your soul. I mean, it's got cinnamon roll in that description. I can't really go wrong with it, can I? So yeah, I'll be reading this one and we'll see how I fare with it. Hey vlog, I am here to check back in because it's been a minute since I did. So it's now actually Thursday, so I didn't check in at all yesterday, but I did do some reading. So I have now gotten to the halfway point of the spell shop. I'm really liking this. I wasn't expecting the levity and the humor. I guess I was expecting it to be one of those like sweeping, atmospheric, lovely, cute romances, but I wasn't expecting the humor. Like the banter that we have between our protagonist and Kaz, the spider plant, has been fantastic. I've had a great time with that. And then the way that our love interest is introduced is fantastic as well, because we have our protagonist who I find really annoying in her interactions with this guy, but at the same time it's a really important message for women, because you have this guy who is coming in and he's being really helpful. Like he's coming and helping out with the chimney. He's coming and helping bring her food and trying to give her some guidance around the town. But he's not asking, he's just doing. And she doesn't know him. So like she comes home and he is there in her house. Like when she went out to town, he's there in her house sorting out her chimney flue. And that's fine because he's being helpful, but he didn't ask. Like Kaz, I think, let him in, but like he didn't ask if that was okay. Yes, he's being helpful, but also he's not respecting any boundaries. Like he's not asking her first. I liked it, but at the same time we're seeing him as just this really adorable guy, so it's easy for me to just fall into that. But he's being so nice and he's being so helpful. But yes, like she should be enforcing her boundaries. Like she doesn't know this guy. So yeah, like it's an odd kind of conflict that I've got going there, because it's really easy to fall into that trap. So I'm really glad that the author has decided to do that, even though I am finding it frustrating to be at war with myself over it. It's an odd one. I also went shopping yesterday. I'll have hopefully inserted the B-roll. We got some cookies, which were lovely, like they're Kinder stuffed cookies, Kinder Bueno on the inside, which was delicious. I also got cinnamon roll. We didn't eat all of it in one go, don't worry. But I did also have some for breakfast today. It's fantastic. I tried a white chocolate latte from Dunkin'. I don't think it was stirred properly because like it tasted like really subtly of white chocolate, but it was mostly just ordinary sweet coffee until we got to the end, and then I just had a mouthful of white chocolate. So that was a thing that happened. Yeah, like it was still nice. Like I actually liked it more before I got the mouthful of white chocolate. But it was quite thick as well, so it was kind of like churro chocolate, but white chocolate, which was interesting. But yeah, that's an experience that I had. I went and bought myself some nail varnish, so I have done my nails. I've got brown nail varnish, so these two are the same shade, and then I got 3 browns in total, and I think they're stunning, and I am absolutely obsessed. My mum's friend was clearing out, so her kid has moved back to the UK like ages ago, and she was clearing out her apartment, and there's like stuff in there that no one wants, so I ended up also receiving a colouring book. So we've got Curious Creatures, and it's like a mandala style one, but it's so pretty. So I might whack on an audiobook and give these a go. There was one with like a hedgehog earlier that I saw that was absolutely stunning. Bear with me, I'll see if I can find it. Okay, before we get to that, we've got a platypus and a beaver. Like, already, I am here. Butterfly. Rachel, this one's for you. Frogs on toadstools. Love it. Stunning. Fox. I'm not showing you all of them, just my favourites. Fox. Armadillos. Look how cute they are. Oh my god. Porcupine. Another Rachel one. Mother of moths. We've got moths. We've got Muffy. If you have no idea what I'm talking about with the whole Mother of Moths, you need to go onto Rachel Reading Fairies Discord. I will offer no further context. And then this one is the me one. This one. The owl is mine. That's the me one. So yeah, I am very excited to get into this. So I'm gonna go, hopefully, yeah, like I said, whack an audiobook on and do that. This one has the bookmark things as well, but I think it might also help with bleed through, at least to an extent. But I use pencil. I don't really like colouring in felt tip. I know, I'm a child, but I like using pencil more, which I know it doesn't look as good, but I like enjoy the process more, and I'm colouring for me, not for anyone else. So yeah, I'm gonna go do that. So that means that I will hopefully make some progress with Where the Dark Stands Still, and I'll be able to check in a bit later and let you know some further thoughts on that. But until then, I'm out. Hey vlog, I have now finished Spell Shop, so I thought I would check in. I have mixed feelings on this one, I think. For the most part, love the prose, the setting, and the atmosphere of the setting. I did enjoy some of the characters, some of the interactions, and the romance, the way it was developed, worked well enough for me. But I do have some criticisms. First of all, I don't want to say villain, our antagonist, I suppose. Radine, I don't know how I'm pronouncing this. I found them incredibly frustrating. And I don't mind a villain. I actually prefer evil villains over frustrating villains. I want to be frustrated. I will rejoin the teaching workforce, you know? Like, I don't need that. That's one of the things that I have with Cozy, is that a lot of the time the obstacles feel too close to real life. And that's not what I need in my escapism. I do not need the main obstacle of this story to be a bureaucrat. And I appreciate that that's not where it ends up. But for a chunk there, it's like, oh god. So I hated that. Some of Kiela, our protagonist's internal monologue, also frustrated the hell out of me. A lot of the way that she perceives Laren, because of her having these feelings within herself, and obviously she needs to address those feelings within herself, and we see that a lot within stories where people need to overcome their own trauma before they can form a romantic relationship. I understand that. The thing is as well, is like, I think that this book is also revealing a little bit of my internal misogyny that I didn't know I still possessed. But from my initial misgivings when it came to the way that Kiela would talk about Laren, the main love interest, after he was helping her, because I understand on a base level that, you know, it's like, oh, but, you know, he's being nice to her. On a more intellectual level, it's like, yes, but she also deserves to assert her boundaries, and that conflict, that's fine. But we have it also where she is kind of like constantly pushing him away, but also drawing him close, and this push and pull. And it's something that within male love interests, we actually see quite a lot. It's not something that I should hate. I mean, it is something that I find frustrating in male love interests too. So it's not that it's like, oh, I only hate this in women. I think it just feels more noteworthy in the woman for me. And it wasn't until I sat down and thought about it, I thought, no, I hate this in men too. So I needed a hot minute to kind of like actually, for my modern brain to catch up with my primal urges when it comes to just like, love the man. So yeah, that's where I am at with that. Do with that information what you will. I'm hormonal. Okay, leave me alone. So that's where I'm at with that. I had mixed feelings in regards to some of the development, be it of characters and or of the romance. Loved Kaz, loved Laren, so those are what I'm here for. I really loved the sense of community and the village, and again, like the atmosphere and the vibe and the setting and the world building and stuff were all very cool. I really appreciated that. I loved the kind of idea of coming together as a community as well, which we get throughout this. The small town vibe, the whole thing, that all of that was fantastic. I just had some issues with the romance and with our antagonist. So I've ended up giving it a 3.5. I'm unsure if that means it's going to get a 4-star or a 3-star on Goodreads. We shall have to wait and see. Whenever I've got a half-star rating, I kind of let it sit for a couple of days, so I will probably know by the end of the vlog and be able to let you know. But for now, that means that we need to pick my weekend read, because it's Friday afternoon, so I have this afternoon and this evening, and then I also have a Saturday and Sunday. So let's pick what's probably going to be our final book for this vlog. We've got the wheel. Let's give her a go. Cat. All right, what have we got? What are you? Is that even the right way up? It's not. Oh, After the Forest by Kelwood. Oh, I've got a physical read. It's been a hot minute since I've had a physical read. All right, let's go get that. And we'll put the wheel back. So not the shortest read on my shelves. It's a chunky-ish one. It's like 400 and something pages. 463. So on the chunkier side, but this one is a Hansel and Gretel retelling sequel-ish. In it, we are following Hansel and Gretel after the forest. So after they've defeated the witch and her gingerbread house, Gretel took home with her the witch's grimoire, and when they start to fall on hard times, she uses some of the recipes from the grimoire to make really addictive food, I think, so that people keep coming back for more, but then that becomes a source of gossip and suspicion. So I think it's going to be a little bit of like, is Greta a witch kind of thing. I do love this cover so very much. It's such a stunning book with the foil on it. Yeah, it's one that I have been excited to try. And again, it's supposed to have witchy vibes, and having Gretel be the witch now that the Witch of the Wood is gone sounds pretty cool as well. So I'm hoping I enjoy this. I'm gonna go, I don't really have any preconceived thoughts because I've never read this author before. I do love me a retelling so long as it's like a retelling of something that isn't overdone, like Beauty and the Beast. And I haven't actually read anything of like adult Hansel and Gretel before outside of the Hansel and Gretel movie, which, let's be honest, I only watched because the actors are stunning. But I am excited to give this one a go. So I will go start it, and then once I have made a little bit of progress, I can give you some initial thoughts. Hey vlog, it is Monday, so I thought I needed to check in because I haven't really checked in all weekend. I've checked out all weekend, basically. The hormones have been hormoning. So here I am now, and I am halfway through this, and I get it. You know, you're like, Faye, you pulled this Friday, and it's been a whole weekend. What have you been doing? I've been reading Regency romance, and I have no regrets. So those are not being vlogged. I have decided I am not vlogging reading Regency romances. I'm just going to read them in the background of any other vlog. End of story. So we're here to talk about After the Forest. I am liking this. I am enjoying this. As you can tell, I guess, by my tone, it's not like wowing me, especially not to the degree that I was hoping it would. I had a lot of expectations when it came to this one, a lot of excitement when it came to this one. That is not necessarily pulling through to the extent that I would like it to. I am currently on page 234, so I am about halfway around the halfway point. I don't know if my pacing is the problem or its pacing is the problem, but there's a pacing problem. So either because of where my brain is at, where it's slightly gooier than I'd like it to be, and therefore my concentration isn't where I would like it to be, it might be that I am just struggling to concentrate and pay attention, and therefore the pace is suffering, or if this book's pace just isn't quite grabbing me to the extent that I would like it to. That being said, I'm enjoying the characterization in here. I'm really liking Greta as a character. I also really like the exploration of trauma that we have with Hans, who is the Hansel character. I think that he's a very interesting character to be following in that sense, because he is anyone who's had someone in their life who has gone through trauma and has really unhealthy coping mechanisms. If you have a friend that maybe is an addict, or a friend who has a tendency to push away all of their loved ones, sometimes in quite extreme ways, so that they can protect themselves or believe that they're protecting those around them. Any of those coping mechanisms to do with trauma, if you've seen that in a relative, then you'll see how, I think, well done that is in here. I think that the addiction side that we see from Hans, as well as, yes, the kind of almost emotional distance and emotional disconnect that he is trying to create but not succeeding to create. It's one thing, like a lot of people think that, oh, because you're traumatized, it means that then you're going to create an emotional disconnect, but that's not easily done. So what happens is you have someone who tries to push everyone away, and someone who attempts at emotional disconnect, and even maybe convinces themselves that they are emotionally disconnected, while their emotions that they're not actually dealing with or processing just affect those around them instead. And I think that's being handled really well in here. I think we have an interesting discussion on war and the futility of war very briefly in here with one character as well, where you see the way that people will try really hard to get through war through hope, and then what that means once they return. Lots of things going on in here. I'm really liking the descriptions of the baking as well. So there's a lot going on in here that I am really enjoying. I just don't think that I am okay putting it down, I think is the thing. I'm okay putting it down, and I am not fussed about getting back to it, but when I am reading it, I'm really enjoying it. So that's clearly like a pace being an investment thing, I suppose. Again, I'm having a really good time when I do bother to read it, but I'm just not bothering to read it. Again, I've read 234 pages in 3 days, which is not normal for me. Granted, like I said, I'm reading other things, but the fact that I'm gravitating towards reading other things instead of wanting to keep picking this up says both where my mind is at, that I'm just wanting to read my gooey romances, but also I think says that this book isn't grabbing me to the extent that I had hoped it would. So yeah, we'll finish this out. I'll hopefully have this finished before Wednesday, so that then I can actually finish up this vlog and get it posted on time. If not, you're watching this vlog late. I don't know yet. But I don't know then how that's going to affect like this coming week's vlog, because I had a vlog planned for this week, but I don't know, like it depends on how long it takes me to read this one, whether or not I start the other vlog. So I might be one vlog down, but I did say in my TBR video that I didn't think I'd be able to get to all of the vlog projects that I was hoping to get to. So we'll see which ones get dropped or not. I don't think I'll drop my romance one, because again, I'm feeling hormonal anyway, so romance is good for me. So it might be the monster vlog that gets dropped. I don't know yet. We shall see. But yeah, so far I'm enjoying it. Just wish I cared more enough to invest the energy and the time at the moment. But again, still haven't figured out if that's me or the book, or both of us. Maybe we are both the problem. Hey vlog, I am here because I've finished After the Forest, so I thought it would be a good time to wrap up the vlog. It is actually Wednesday now as well, so it's about time I finished up this vlog. I have ended up giving this a 3.5, so I would say I don't know if that means I'm going to give it a 4 or a 3 on Goodreads. As of late, most of the time, if I've got a 3.5 and I don't feel like defensive of it, because basically the way it works is I do CallPile, and when using CallPile, sometimes the way the numbers work out, it just adds up to a 3.5, but in my head I'm like, oh, that was closer to a 4, and I'm like, I'm not sure that rating's quite right, or it's right, but you know, like in a good way, then I'll give it 4 stars. If I'm ever like, I'm not sure if that means it's a 3 or a 4 star, I give it 3. Because there are books that I have genuinely really, really liked that I've given 4 stars. So there's no point in me being the ones where it's like, I liked it, but there were certain things that I think could have been a bit better. That's a 3 star. So this one's 3 stars. The second half I definitely think was better. I definitely enjoyed it more. There were definitely more emotional stakes in here as well. There were definitely more thematic stakes as well. Like there was a lot of conversations around the way we other people, around the way that we exclude people who don't conform, the way that we treat people who look different or who think different, and all of that. A lot of discussions around othering, which I think was really good. Conversations around familial bonds as well that I think were handled in a really good way. Obviously, then there's also the historical component in here as well, this era in Germany. For the most part, I think it was a really well written story. I just think that in that first half, I really wasn't as invested as I feel like I should be for a story like this. I wasn't invested in the atmosphere and I wasn't invested in the characters, and the pacing just wasn't working for me. So while I think the writing was really good and while I think the atmosphere was well established, I didn't feel immersed in it. It's just like really good descriptions of things and I could picture them, but I didn't feel immersed in them. I didn't feel like I was just walking through this forest. I didn't feel like I was walking through this village. I think that matters when you're talking about a book like this. I've said this before, that for me, almost like the intentionality of a book is what matters. Like I read Regency romances, right? The atmosphere basically is just generically Regency. Like Bridgerton doesn't resemble the Regency era in any way, shape or form. From the clothes half the time to like obviously the music is contemporary music done in a vaguely classic orchestral fashion. I don't just mean because there are people of colour. We do have a huge amount of emphasis on mothers who care about whether or not their children are in love with someone. And granted, it's normally that they want them to be in love with someone within the same class, but they care about love, which again, not something that mothers would have been particularly pressed about during the time period. So it doesn't really resemble Regency era in a real sense in any way, really. And yet we all know that it's got that Regency vibe. So Regency romance, it just needs a vibe, right? But with something like this, the atmosphere needs to be, felt like it needed to be a core component of the book that wasn't there. Like it was well described. The atmosphere felt decent. I felt like it should have had more than it did based on the kind of story that it is, if that makes sense. So the intentionality behind it didn't pull through in the areas that it was supposed to with the amount of strength that I wanted it to. But that's fine. Again, I really enjoyed the character of Greta. I think that she was done really, really well. Some of the discussions around Hans, I think, were done really well as well. And he felt like such a real person, for better or for worse. There were other characters, like the cast of characters grows in increments throughout the story, and I think that was handled really well, especially because you incur losses within the story as well. I don't feel like I was invested enough in the characters to feel like I didn't cry at any of the character deaths or whatever. I think they were handled well. So that's the thing, most of this is just, I think things were done well. I didn't get emotionally or intellectually invested enough to rave about it, is kind of the thing. It was well done. I'm not going to scream from the rooftops about this book. So that's where I'm at. I don't really have any more thoughts on it than that. So to wrap up this vlog, oh god, what have I read in this vlog? We started out with Satan Hides the Hook by Lumen Reese. This one I ended up giving 4 stars. I had a great time with it. They're always like fun reads while being horror at the same time. It's a really impressive combo and is probably my favourite book of the vlog. We had The Burnings by Naomi Kelsey, which was a huge disappointment solely on my own sensitivities, which I don't think will necessarily everyone will agree with, but it's just something that kind of didn't work for me, sadly. Then we have The Forest of Hands and Teeth, which I ended up DNFing, but it's not that it's a bad book, it's just that it was quite predictable and I know I'm not his target audience anymore, so there was no real point in pushing through, but it is one that I think if I had read in my teens I would have enjoyed. Then we have The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst, which I ended up giving 4 stars. I did really enjoy it. I did have some problems with that in the sense of I found that the primary antagonist throughout the middle section to be quite annoying, and that I did also have issues with the relationship, but that is probably a me problem and something that I am confronting internally. And then the last one that we have is After the Forest by Kel Woods, which I've ended up giving, I think, 3 stars. I did enjoy it. I just don't think it's going to necessarily stick with me. So there you have it. Those are all of the books that I have read for this vlog, which has gone on for far too long. So yeah, let me know if you've read any of these and your thoughts on them, or based on my enjoyment of these books, if you think
thinking I should pick up anything else. But that's all from me for today. So thank you ever so much for watching, and I will hopefully catch you in another one soon.